Today, we're going to be mounting an optic onto this thing. So, came in the mail literally today is the Romeo 5 by 6 Hour. And it is a fantastic optic, especially for the money. So, what we're going to be doing is actually putting this on the rifle. And we're going to figure out in terms of placement, where is it going to go, exactly torque specs and everything. So, hopefully you enjoy the video and we're going to be zeroing it next. So to start off with mounting position, I mean, Yidi, do you have any recommendations exactly where it should go?
Yeah, sure. So generally, you're going to want to keep it on the upper receiver. You do not want it mounted so far back that it can hit you in the eyebrow and give you a black eye. You do not want it mounted on the handguard. If you need to take the handguard off for any kind of reason, to clean or anything like that, and you put it back on, you will lose zero. So you want it generally mounted more toward the front of the upper receiver.
So the upper receiver in this case, at least on my rifle, is ending all the way up here. Right? Most of the time, it's going to end a little bit closer to the magwell.
Correct. On the LWRC, it extends a couple of Picatinny slots. Generally, you won't see people mounting it that far forward, so you may want to keep it just a tad further back. But that's personal preference. As long as it's on the top of the upper receiver and not on the handguard and not too far back that you're going to lose the ability to mount a magnifier or a rear backup sight, you're good.
Okay, awesome. So why don't you say we just aim this at the wall a couple of times and see what's going to be the best configuration in terms of how it looks. Then we'll kind of go from there. So this is with the optic mounted almost as far forward as it can possibly go on the upper receiver, as you can see here. So with that in mind, right, that's just a peripheral view of how much space I'm seeing around the optic. And keep in mind, of course, if there was a magnifier right over here, then that would go on the rail and obviously change the perspective. But this is how it looks on this perspective. All right, now let's bring it a little bit closer. Okay, so we moved about 2 notches forward. You can already see the perspective change a decent amount.
Rearward.
Exactly. Yeah, rearward. So definitely you're losing a little bit more of that peripheral space just because the optic is now sitting closer to the eye of the shooter, in this case being me. All right. You want to step it up to where it would sit in terms of a normal positioning above the magwell, a little bit more closer back. This would be as close as you would possibly want it in order to still fit your rear irons, magnifier, what else have you. But essentially, if you wanted to be able to see as much inside of your optic space as possible, this would be the closest that you would want to have it. From the perspective of a shooter, I would say it's easier to find your dodges because you have more window when it's this close. But generally, you're fishing straight to your dot on a rifle platform. So having that peripheral vision is something I would prefer. So I think we're definitely going to push this a little bit higher up or further from the brace in this case. So we went to the, I would say, second to farthest back position on the rifle. There's actually these numbers, which is really helpful. So in this case, we're at 16, as you can see right there. So that is the perspective that it looks like, and this looks pretty good too. All right, so after taking a look at the optic, especially at varying distances in terms of where it's sitting on the upper receiver and on the Picatinny rail, we are going to go ahead and mount this at the 15 position, at least on my rifle, it's marked off as that. So in terms of what we're going to use to actually make it happen, we have some Loctite that Yidi brought over. So this is 243, you said?
243.
243. And why would you use this one over a different?
It's a tad thicker than the 242. 242 or 243 will both work on anything gun related. 243 is usually being recommended these days a tad more.
Okay, awesome. And then we also have a torque wrench, right?
A torque wrench, yes.
Okay.
The torque specs for the SIG Romeo 5 mounted on the Picatinny are going to be 30 inch-pounds. Or if you don't have a torque wrench, you can do it hand tight plus a quarter turn. That'll work too, especially if you're using Loctite. You have nothing to worry about.
Awesome. All right, so let's make it happen. We have another perspective over here so you guys can actually see what is going on in terms of mounting this. So we're going to swap over to that. So you can make funny faces now and whatnot.
All right, so first we are going to take the screw off to properly apply Loctite. So there we go. And we will take the clamp out. When applying the Loctite, you don't want to just put tons of it, big globs. You don't really need. You just need a tiny little dab on the first couple of threads, and as you thread it in, it'll kind of bring it through. There's not really room in the threads for all that much to begin with, so there's really no need to apply too much of it because it'll just be going to waste and it'll make a mess. So just a tiny little dab. Cool. All right. It's useful to have some kind of paper towel or something like that to keep things neat. Give it a little shake. Alrighty, and just like that. Right.
Safe to touch.
Safe to touch. It actually dries anaerobically, so it dries without air. If it's exposed to air, it won't really dry properly, so there's not really any kind of rush to put it on. So we just have a tiny bit on the threads, not dripping. You can wipe away the excess, and now we can mount it on the optic, on the rifle. All right, and we will hold the clamp in place on the other side and just start threading it through just so that it stays in place. All right, and we're going to put it on the desired slot on the rifle. A very important point to remember when mounting an optic on a Picatinny is that there is quite a bit of slack front to back. When you tighten it down, you want to make sure that the optic is pushed all the way forward in that slack. The reason for that is as the rifle recoils, the optic actually wants to stay in one place. So every time it'll be fighting against the clamp tension to kind of want to move forward. But if you tighten it down in the furthest forward position, it's already smacked up against the front of the Picatinny slot, so there is no more forward movement for the optic to travel. So that's kind of how you want to tighten it, is in the furthest forward position. So we're going to hold it there in that furthest forward position. We're going to do it hand tight. All right. And we are going to take this Wheeler fat wrench, adjusted to 30 inch-pounds, with a Torx T10 bit, which is what this optic requires. Your optic may vary. And we are going to tighten it until we get 3 clicks out of the torque wrench. Make sure that the optic is in the forward position of the rail, and we're going to tighten it. 1, 2, 3. All right. And that's that. And you may want to wait a few hours before you shoot it, just to let the Loctite cure sufficiently.
So this is fully mounted on now, as you can see here, per the specs and everything we did on the other perspective. And hopefully you enjoyed that, and also seeing just the difference of where your optic place can matter, especially in terms of peripheral vision, as well as being able to find your dot quickly and easily. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to hit the like button, comment down below, and subscribe, because next we are going to be zeroing this optic. And of course, we have a lot of special plans to actually put more attachments, accessories, etc. on this rifle/other. So hopefully you will enjoy watching the rest of the series. And again, don't forget to subscribe to see more.